Someone called me Princess in the Pea the other day because I'm just like a prissy princess. Like.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was because you can always feel your tiny pea.
That's it. I quit. We're never doing another podcast ever again.
It's a nice story, though.
Oh, this is actually gonna have to be a quick episode, isn't it, Andrew?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Oh, God. I woke up this morning not to my planned alarm, but to the phone under my chest as I was unconscious. I was under my chest, vibrating. So not on Do Not Disturb, no alarm.
Yeah.
After the time that the podcast was supposed to start. So
Yeah.
it's my bad.
So I was going to
Plenty of
record
apologies.
a solo episode.
Yeah, you've plenty of those.
What does that even What does that even mean?
Yeah, we'll let them guess.
Yeah. So anyway, what's going on?
My apologies first and foremost.
Oh yeah, that's whatever. What's going on in life?
What's going on? Coming to a close with the semester. So I have an exam coming up, and then once that's done, the only thing I'll have academic is my dissertation. I say only, but it's more that. It's only one pursuit. Like, I'll finish collecting my data, then I'll clean the data, analyze it, write the results.
What does that mean?
Clean it basically means when I'm saving it, it's like a ton of bullshit numbers that most of them, I would say, are actually completely useless. And then the rest are like, depending on the analysis you're using, you might save more of one thing, less of another, or one row of responses, whereas you don't need something else. Or for me, like I say with the maths, I don't need the exact number they actually said. I just need to know whether they're right or wrong and how long it took them to answer. So yeah, it doesn't matter what the answer they put in, but I don't need to know like how many numbers they're away they were from the correct answer. So yeah, clean the data and turn it into something that is actually analyzable, and then analyze it. About halfway there on data collection, but once the exam is done, I'll just like
Turbo.
through. Yeah, turbo, and yeah, looking forward to that. So that's due in August. My supervisor's baby's due then as well. So she said, can you just get it
Bro,
due,
what does that have to do with anything?
because it means I basically have to have it due like 2 weeks prior, but in case the baby comes and you just can't see the thing before I submit it.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So that's it.
And then you're done in August.
Yeah.
For good. Now you're doing a PhD?
Yeah, PhD.
Can you fail this thing, by the way?
Yeah.
How do you do that? You just suck, like?
Yeah.
Damn. And who decides if you fail
I don't
or
want
not?
to say so because I'm sure some people fail, but well, it's a culmination of all your grades. So like, there's a few markers of my dissertation, and then there's multiple markers for everything else I do. And so, let's say if I failed all my modules, then I just wouldn't pass. Or if I failed one of them, I'm pretty sure.
And then you have to do it all again.
I wonder if you had, let's say if I failed this exam, I would redo it in August. But if I failed a whole module, maybe I have to redo the module.
Well, just don't do that. You'll be fine. And then you want to do PhD. Can you fail a PhD? How do you fail any of this stuff? I swear you're just making it up as you go.
No, I think a master's is very similar to a normal master's. That you can do a master's through purely research, but if it's with modules, then you have to pass the modules as with a normal like degree. But then a PhD, someone listening will be able to correct us, I'm sure. Imagine we had no PhD people listening.
I think I know a PhD guy that listens to.
Yeah, he sees ours and he's like, let's see what these peasants are talking. No, as far as I know, a PhD have some lessons that are either pass-fail, so like it doesn't matter what grade you get, you just have to hand something in, or that you can go look at the lectures but you don't have to hand anything in. I've talked to someone like that, and the actual thing that's being, I don't even know if you say graded, but the thing that's you have to hand in is your research.
Okay.
And so I don't know if you can actually fail research, you just have to do it. And then if it's really bad, you know, that's another story. But you probably wouldn't be accepted in the PhD if you're doing really bad research.
As you can tell, I dropped out of college, so I don't know anything about any of this.
Isn't that like a Kanye West lyric?
On that topic. Great segue. Kanye West, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, I think that's been like a snowball.
Yeah, no, but like the latest one. I know there's
Tell
been
us about the latest. Remind me.
Okay, I actually don't even know if I can. The cousin song.
What's it about?
I actually don't even want to say the words because it's bizarre. Like incest with his cousin.
He does actually sing about it, and it's not just one line.
He made a song about like incest with his cousin, and not just like a song. Like apparently it's real.
Yeah, it's not just kissing either.
I actually don't even really want to talk about it, to be honest.
It was a funny thing to bring up.
You brought it up.
Yeah, that's why. It's funny.
Yeah, no, that's a whole thing.
It is a whole thing. It is a whole.
Yeah, do you know I went down a rabbit hole of YouTube Shorts the other day.
Andrew doesn't have Instagram, and it still catches you. It just gets you. Like you think you're escaping, and then all of a sudden you're watching some bullshit no algorithm reel.
Yeah, no, I was watching a thing from Lil Wayne.
Tell me about it.
Don't laugh. Lil Wayne is fucking amazing.
Yeah, he's good. He's good.
I don't listen. Don't listen to any of his music, but no, he's telling a story about he was 12, and he got in trouble for like ditching school, and his auntie called him and was like, "Your mom found out, she's gonna beat your ass." So then he took his mom's gun and shot himself in the chest. And then the police came, so he rang the police before he shot himself. then the police came, kicked in the door. He was there bleeding out in the ground, and then a police officer by the name of Uncle Bob rescued him and brought him to the hospital. He put him in the back of his car, drove him to the hospital, and saved his life. So anyway, I went down a rabbit hole of watching 10 YouTube Shorts of him telling the exact same story. Brought a tear to my eye.
Different music.
Brought a tear to my eye. Speaking of tear to my eye, you literally have a tear in your eye right now.
You're just so beautiful, it makes you cry. So what does it mean? Like he shot himself in the chest to escape his mom? Or to avoid her punishment?
I think he said, "I'm going to show her."
Oh.
Yeah. Do you know he was he signed his first rap deal when he was 12? He's making like $100,000 when he was 12 years old rapping.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, in like 1995.
Little Wayne.
Yeah. And then he was talking about how the guy who saved him, Uncle Bob, was white, and I don't know, there was videos of people trying to like bring him into talking about race and stuff, and he was like, "I don't see race. Uncle Bob saved me when I was 12, stuff like that." So anyway, shout out to Lil Wayne.
And Uncle Bob.
And Uncle Bob. Yeah, anyway, so why did I bring that up? Oh yeah, I was on YouTube because I was watching bouldering videos.
Cool.
I was watching bouldering technique
How's
videos.
that going?
I was there yesterday. Man, my forearms and my hands cooked. Destroyed. It's so fun.
Because of mountain climbing?
That was a good one. That was quick. Yeah. Yeah, no, it was very fun. Did it yesterday. I suck at it. I'm so bad, though. I'm so bad.
You sent me a few videos you climbing around.
Monkeying around a little bit. There was one, I think you call it like a project when you're like working on one that you can't get. There was one project that was fucking me up. There was a blue 4. There's like different grades for how difficult they are. I think it goes from like 1 to, I think they have up to 9 in this gym, but I think they can go up to like 15, 16, whatever plus. And yeah, there was a blue 4 kicking my ass because it was on like 3 different types of wall rather than just like just one wall. So you have to go out and around. Oh, it was beating me up. It was beating me up.
Did you get it?
No. And yeah, I must have had maybe 15 cracks at it. And I got further every time, but your hands start getting more and more beat up. Do you know if you're like doing loads of deadlift sets and then you have to go and do your rows and then you have to go do a lap pull down, something else, like your hands just start feeling cooked. They just start feeling burnt out and raw and sore. So yeah, that was starting to happen. And then you're getting more frustrated because and then your forearms are so pumped, like it's ridiculous. And then like once your hands and forearms are gone, then you just can't do it.
Is that the main thing for climbing? Like, I'm sure the rest of your body's still pretty taxed.
Yeah.
Your back.
Yeah, and then the worse you are, the more taxing it is as well. Yeah. Because like you're trying to like muscle everything up where you want to. One of the big things that they talk about is like using your skeleton rather than trying to use your muscles. So like, do you know if you were carrying your shopping in from the car, you're not going to be carrying it up here. Yeah. Whereas when you suck on the wall, you're like clinging on to every hold, and you're trying to like muscle your way to the next holds rather than using momentum and flow and things like that. So I suck super bad. So yeah, it's like super tiring for me. And then I'm real heavy as well. I'm 99 kilos now. First time under 100 in 4 years probably.
How do you feel?
Great, really good. Very, 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 very good actually. Body comp, body image, everything like that. Super happy in that regard. Training, all my accessories are actually stronger. Like everything that isn't squats feels great. Deadlifts are not amazing either. But yeah, when you're like 18 kilos down, what's that, like 40 pounds, something like that? 40
Huge.
plus, maybe?
Definitely more, yeah. 36.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do the maths, brother. I ain't doing that. I need to get the calculator out. But yeah,
I think it's 40 pounds, yeah.
bench feels fine. Okay, the last bench session was a little heavy, but for the most part, feels fine. Accessories, all stronger.
Nice.
So happy with that. Happy with how I'm looking.
So am I.
It has been very. I suppose there's a few like offshoots that we can have from this. One of them being that this week I withdrew from World Championships. So I I pulled the trigger and I decided that I'm not going to do it. I'd gone back and forth, and anyone listening to the previous episode, like they would have heard. The likelihood is there's no shot that I was in it. Why are you drinking the water like that?
I was trying not to make any noise. Keep going.
Yeah, it was just way more distracting.
No, tell us. Why did you stop? I'm showing serious thigh here, so that's probably really distracting.
Nah, it's all right.
Didn't help at all.
For anyone who can't see, Andrew pulled his shorts all the way up. Yeah, what the fuck was I talking about? Pulled out of Worlds. And yeah, I just decided it's not the right time. I don't want to do it. I want to come down further in body weight. I want to come down to probably 90 kilos, if I'm honest. And that's where the other segue is, because like I was saying, I'm doing like a deep dive on natural bodybuilding, like seeing like natural bodybuilding transformations of people who are like peak bulk into like stage lean. Now, obviously, I don't want to get anywhere even near stage lean, but kind of looking at the different looks that people have throughout the stage of a prep, the different levels of leanness and kind of the general body weights that people seem to be. And it would be very naive of me to think that when all these natural bodybuilders are stepping on stage, that they're like 70, 80 kilos in that range, that I will somehow look really lean, 20 kilos heavier than that. It would be naive of me to think that I somehow have so much more muscle and I'm way more jacked. That's just not really going to be the case. So I think if I wanted to get like quite lean, I would have to be 90 and below. I would say 90 is kind of just like the general beach lean stage. That's my philosophy at the moment.
So you're beach lean around now?
Huh?
I think you're beach lean.
Stop, man. Get out of here. There's no way. But it has been super interesting on the way down, seeing how lean I am at the different stages of body weight. It's like I have had to readjust my whole perception of what like different body weights mean. Because when you're powerlifting, like you want to be big, you want to be heavy, you want to feel strong. So when I was competing under 120, like if I was 110, I'm like, that's tiny. I'm tiny. But when you're looking at it from like a physique perspective or like a health perspective, and you kind of, similar to how we would say to people when they were in a surplus, like almost forget about the weight classes. Don't tie yourself like arbitrarily to a weight class. That's how I felt on the way down, where I'm like, if I was purely focused on like powerlifting performance, I would be limiting the amount that I'm cutting down now just to stay within the like 105 bracket, or what I feel that I would need to be competitive in the 105 bracket. Whereas the priority of me cutting down is to get to a baseline where I'm happy with body image, body composition, I feel good. That is going to be like 90 kilos. But in my brain, I'm like, there's no way I would cut down to 90 kilos, because then I'd be a 93 lifter and then I'm competing against people who are 5'5" and I don't want to do that. Whereas if
Keen man being 5'5", bro. God damn. Catching absolute strength here.
I didn't name
I'm
anyone.
not competing against gnomes. I'm not competing against tiny people.
I didn't say any of this. This is fucking all you, brother.
Awful.
This is all you, brother.
Awful, bro.
That's all you, partner. Yeah. So like in my brain, there's no way that I would ever get down to 90-ish kilos. Even in that range again, there's no shot. Like why would I go down there? Like that would make no sense for powerlifting. But if I never do that, then I'm going to be in a position where I'm not really happy with body composition. And am I just going to stay in that position forever, where I'm not happy with body comp? So that is kind of what has tied into the decision not to do Worlds in large part. Is I want to come down. I want to do like a full reset. I want to like wipe the slate clean. I want to just like have a new starting point where I can go back into a surplus and see productive training for like a long period of time ahead of me. And I think if I were to like cut the deficit short now for the sake of short-term performance to go do Worlds, I would not be happy with the position that I was in. I would not be happy to go into a surplus again. I would kind of be resentful that I didn't get to come down further because of like powerlifting. It just would have been worse for my relationship with powerlifting overall. But now that I have like the weight of competition like off my shoulders, I feel like way more optimistic about my relationship with powerlifting now. I'm more hopeful for what the future could look like after I've done this process, and then I get back to gaining, and then I'm back in a surplus. And training is fun again, because it's not fun when you're in a deficit. And then there's a whole segue of conversation to have from that I've been thinking about as of late. But it's not. Like training is not the most enjoyable at the moment, because I'm kind of just trying to hang on to what I have, like damage limitation, like not lose as much strength as possible, even though I'm inevitably losing some strength. And then another thought of that was when you're in that like rat race of competitions, which have been in for the past like 4 or 5 years of a nationals, then world championships or European championships, and then the same one to follow. There's a comp like every 4 months. So there's never a time where you have like an extended period of like an off season, or where you can take a step back or do something like this, like a big cut, like a big change in body comp or anything along those lines, because you're always focused on trying to like maximize performance again in the short term. So there's like never a good time to do it. There's never going to be like a convenient time for me to do a cut like this. There's never going to be a convenient time for me to do a reset. So kind of taking a step back from that cycle and grind of competition after competition after competition is the way that I have allowed myself to kind of pursue that goal fully, and then be able to move on to the next task. So, yeah.
Because it's a body comp goal, a few steps earlier you mentioned the weight classes and the 5 for 5 thing, but the actual fact there was that it was going to be mad to cut down to 93. That's crazy. I'm 120, you know? I'm not a 93, but you need to like remove those pretty arbitrary or just specific to powerlifting parameters, because it's just like your body comp. You just need to cut down to whatever you want to cut down to, and then reapply the overlay of powerlifting and see where you fit in and where you want to be.
That's a good way to put it, because that's what it felt like. It was like I need to just imagine none of that stuff exists, look at myself in the mirror and be like, okay, this individual here, too much body fat, just an unhealthy amount of body fat. They don't feel good in their skin. They don't feel good day to day. Something needs to change there. And I was getting too caught up in the weight classes, and I need to be this size for this reason and whatnot. And again, I don't regret it at all, because it was all for a purpose and it was successful. Like the idea and the philosophy that I had of getting bigger, getting heavier, I will then get stronger, I'll then be more competitive at these international competitions. And now I've done them and I've got the accolades and like the medals at home and all those experiences and memories. But that kind of ran its course with the juniors. And then it was, okay, now where do we go from here? Because I don't want to stay this size. That would be like unhealthy to stay that size. And that's another like consideration that I have. And I almost wish that I got like bloods and stuff done at that size, so I could see the difference in what it is now. But I feel just, it's hard to even like put it into words, but I feel so much healthier. Like I feel like I have more vitality or something. I don't even know what vitality means, but I feel like it it applies in that setting.
How do you feel the vitality?
It's just more energy day to day. Like I feel like I have a glow around me when I wake up in the morning, rather than like, remember the thing that we said where you have to swing your leg to get out of bed, rather than having that, or like going up the stairs is hard. You just feel like you can actually function, or like doing the bouldering. No shot I would have even attempted to do that.
Take the wall down, bro.
pulling the holds off the wall. There's no way I would have even attempted it before. So yeah, that's a thought that I have. And then when I reflect on that, because we were big on the train of like surplus. I think the next like wave or thing that I want to like push or like idea that I want to convey is kind of the rates at which someone should be gaining or losing to like supplement or like to go alongside their powerlifting journey. Because it is something obviously now that I've experienced, and having experienced it when I'm talking to other people or looking at other people, that I can identify more. And I think it is potentially problematic and detrimental to be, well, like definitely problematic and detrimental to be gaining too quick and putting on too much fat, because you get to a stage where you have all this fat now and you don't feel good. You don't feel good about body composition. You don't feel good about like body image, anything like that. You want to come down, but you kind of have this experience that training is so good when you're on the way up. You don't want to come down. When you are in the deficit, training feels shit. You start falling out of love with the sport. Depending how long you've been in it, thankfully, like we have been training 7-8 years for powerlifting. If like 3 blocks suck, that's fine. It's not a massive percentage of our total like training career or experience. Whereas if someone is like 1 year in and they have 3 blocks back to back that suck, that's like a massive portion of their whole experience with powerlifting. The likelihood is they're just not gonna stick with it. Yeah. So kind of an idea of not letting yourself get to a stage where you feel so unhappy with body composition that you have to spend like a very extended period of time in a deficit. And even an extended period of time is like 8 to 12 weeks, I would say. If it's like more than 2 blocks back to back where performance is like kind of on a bit of a downtrend, that's not fun. Like that is really not enjoyable, and it's not good for your relationship with the sport. And that's even something that I had just experienced. And say for like when we were talking about Open Euros just gone and it being the last dance and stuff like that, that was how I was looking at it, because I was coming from the perspective of, okay, I don't want to be that heavy anymore. I really wasn't happy when I was that big. I don't want to get that size again. So if I'm not getting that size again, the likelihood is I'm not hitting PBs. So why would I stay doing the sport? I'm just going to stop and do something else. That was somewhat of the feeling that I had like inside. So trying to avoid that as best as possible, not getting to a stage where you feel so fat that you just like hate powerlifting because it made you get that heavy, and then also hate the training when you're coming back down. I think creating more context or like an understanding around realistic rates of gain or rates of gain that you should be looking for. Because I've had conversations, say, where it'll be like a young guy that I'm talking to, and they'll say something like, oh yeah, I gained 4 kilos this month. And you're like, ooh. But they're saying it like stoked, as if it's like a really good thing. And you're like, okay, nice. So we gained probably 0.5 kilo of muscle in this month and 3.5 kilos of fat. That's probably not what we want to do. And if we do that for too long, we're not gonna feel too good. Now, obviously, of that 4 kilos, water weight, blah, 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 like you factor all those things in. But 4 kilos in a month, we probably don't want to be doing that. So to provide a little bit of context of what we probably would want to see, or for myself, when I get to the bottom of this deficit, what I will be aiming to do is around like 1% average body weight gain per month. That's what I'm going to be looking for. And when you do that, the likelihood is that you're going to be minimizing any excess fat gain that you have. And you can be in that like anabolic surplus training environment for 12 months plus, whatever it may be. But like a long period of time where training is productive, you're getting stronger, but you're not getting that downside of like running yourself into this position where you hate your body image and you don't feel good. And then you've created this buffer that you have to lose to then feel good about yourself again before you can get back to that productive training environment. So I gained so much that buffer that I had to lose to get comfortable again was huge. Mm-hmm. And it means that I've had to spend whatever it was, 3 months coming off the back of Open Euros in a deficit, a period of maintenance, and now probably another 2-3 months in a deficit again. Like that's a long period of time where training is not going to be productive or like anabolic. When I say productive, I just mean like you're going to be making a lot of progress. That's like we want to do when we are training and lifting weights. So yeah, kind of setting yourself up to avoid that pitfall, avoiding the position where you feel like you've gained a load of fat. So yeah, that's something that we can dig into down the line and like really dive into it, and our recommendations or our experiences or our advice on how to best avoid that, or how to navigate training when you are in a deficit and make sure that it is as enjoyable as possible, or yada, yada, yada. But that's something that has been very relevant and front of mind. Don't get too fat. Try put yourself in a position where you don't have to be in a deficit for too long. Try maximize the amount of time that you can be in a surplus without kind of hitting that endpoint of feeling too fat. And that's probably a recipe for success.
We should do that in an episode. We should make a whole episode just how to go about your body weight in powerlifting.
Yeah.
Cutting and bulking.
Yeah.
What also comes to mind in everything you just said there, and everything that, you know, you love the bulk, you don't want to have to cut, because it's like, why would I want to cut and all this, while everything's going so well, and you just kind of, you don't get ahead of it, and then it gets ahead of you, and then you have to make your buffer so much bigger. It's not even a buffer anymore, so it's a huge difference. Is also the like identity thing of, you are now someone who, say like squats 317, bench 200, 340, is like, it's actually hard to transition away from that. And it is so much body weight that for a period you won't be a person. Because, you know, you could argue someone losing like 3 kilos, it's like, you maybe for like 2 months you won't be that person, but you will be once you're back in the surplus, if it's like 3 kilos, you know. But when it's like a significant amount of kilos, like, at what point, there's a line where like, or even not a line, but a graph of like how much you will maintain and compared to how much you're going to lose in body fat. And yours was so drastic that in the immediate it feels awful. Yeah, you know?
And that was another thing that I realized. We had a little bit of a conversation around it, and I don't know exactly how to frame it, but when I was in a surplus, so when I started going to the gym, I was 70 kilos. When I had like decided that big move up from 93 to 105, I thought, I was so hesitant to do it because I thought I was going to look like obese at 100 kilos. I thought I was going to be like a bowling ball. And then I got up to 100 kilos and I was like, oh, I feel amazing. I just feel like fuller. I feel just like wider, like I have more muscle mass and not that much more fat. And then I got up to 105 and same thing. I was like, oh my God, I feel great. I am nowhere near as fat as I thought I would be on the way up. And then obviously that went, and when I was like 108 to 110 plus, then I was like, okay, now I can see the fat gain, but that's like 20 kilos later. The reverse has happened on the way down, where when I'm like 108, I'm like, fuck yeah, if I lose 10 kilos, I'm going to be diced. I'm going to be shredded. And then you lose 10 kilos and you kind of just look, you don't look that much leaner. You just look, in general, like a bit smaller. Like your whole frame is kind of like shrunk down. Like from my side profile, my belly is not as big. But in terms of like leanness overall, like more muscle definition and separation and whatnot, not that significant. So I don't know the exact way to word it, but on the way up, you're probably not going to look as fat as you think you will per like amount of body weight that you gain. And on the way down, you're probably not going to look as lean as you think. Like there's going to be more body weight that you have to lose in order to look lean than you imagine. So that's why I'm saying I'd probably need to get into the 80s to look lean. But like with a powerlifting mind, there's no, like as if I'm ever going to weigh in the 80s. There's no way I'd ever do that. I'm a 120 lifter. But when you like take a step back from that, that's when you see like the objective reality. And I suppose it is tough as well because you look at people online and you see people online looking super jacked and lean. But I never know how to talk about that one because you don't want to seem like you're being salty or like accusing people of being on stuff. But like the more training experience that we have, I think you develop more of a radar for it. Because when you're younger, you don't know what's possible. You don't know, like you want to believe everything. You see like fucking Mike O'Hearn and you're like, yeah, obviously he's natty. he said he's natty, so obviously
he's been training so long.
Yeah.
He's been training so long, obviously. If I was training that long, I'd be that size.
Yeah. But I think the more experience you have, and I want to be like careful. You're just totally blocking my.
Okay, keep going.
Get your fat head
No,
out
that's
of the way,
better. That's so much better. You could have told me to do that earlier.
What was I fucking saying? Oh yeah, I think like the more training experience you have, and then I also want to be cautious about it because I don't want to like imply or give off that I have the attitude that I think I'm like the peak of what is like possible. So like if I couldn't do it, if anyone's bigger than me, they must be on gear. Not that, but you get more of a radar. You've seen more people. You've been around more people. You kind of get more attuned to, okay, there's enough red flags there that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Yeah. So that would still catch me because I'm like, oh, but this person is this big and jacked and lean. So like, surely it's possible. And having now dropped like nearly 20 kilos, I'm like, bruh.
How much more you might have to lose?
To actually look that equivalent level of lean, and then you look at the natural bodybuilding federations. No one's stepping on stage 110 shredded, bro. No one is doing that. That's not happening. Okay, so that was a very useful reframe for me. You just be a little bit more cautious of what you're seeing and consuming online, and not being on Instagram has definitely helped that quite a bit. I think I'm coming up on maybe 6 weeks now not using it, and I say not using Instagram. I've had to go on a couple of times. I had to go on to post on the Evo page, but I find when I go on, I'm like allergic to it. The habit is built up so much of not using it that I'm like averse to using it now. When I'm on it, I'm like, oh, I want to get off the fucking thing, get off. Yep. So I post it and then just fucking get it away. And that has felt amazing. Like I'm not consuming that other stuff. And it's often not even conscious. Like you're not even conscious that you're doing it, but your brain is creating these comparisons, looking at others. So just completely, like I'm in my own bubble now, and that has helped a lot. Like kind of as I'm saying, just looking at myself in the mirror, being like, okay, what is necessary for this like individual right now? Remove all the extra, the biases and the other like layers that you would put on top of it. What does this person need? So that has been super useful, super helpful. We're on a new mission, brother. We're on a new mission.
Would you be in 93 if you came back to powerlifting?
No, I wouldn't lift in 93. I don't think.
Why?
Because of that, like all that stuff still applies that we were saying on the way up of fucking like weight classes or high class in disguise. Like if you want to be real strong, you probably want to be like one of the like shorter people who has more mass in your weight class. You want to be like short and dense, and like you want to be built like Gavin Aid. Like if you want to be really good, you want to be built like Gavin Aid.
What body fat do you want to be, and is that in the 105s you think, or is it in the 93s?
What body fat do I want to be? That's a good question.
That's what I meant. Not like, do you love the idea of being 93? Just now overlaying it, if you were to cut down to say like 88, 89, you're like, right, I'll go into a surplus here.
If I enjoy that so much, maybe it means that if I do compete, it's just like purely for the enjoyment of stepping on the platform. Okay, that's a good like frame or add-on, because I was talking about it in like the competitive sense, because that has been the number one priority for us, is to be like as competitive as possible, and not just as competitive as possible in Ireland, but competitive as possible internationally. And if I want to be as competitive as possible internationally, I would probably have to be at 120. That's where I found I was most competitive. Like if I look at the gap in numbers to the people at the top, as a 105, maybe I could like kind of start climbing up the ranks a little bit there. Yeah, maybe. I would imagine I'd probably have a better chance, again, for all those reasons that we have listed before and all the reasons that I did go to 120 as a junior. I would have a higher likelihood being 120. That's not the objective anymore. So yeah, if I was to compete, I would have to let go of the consideration of trying to be as competitive as possible. And maybe I would compete as a 93 just for the enjoyment of competing. I don't know if that feels super compelling right now, but we'll see. We'll see as I come back up in body weight if I still feel good about body composition and I weigh 100 kilos. Then I'm like, okay, maybe I'll compete as a 105. I don't know how strong I'll be. I don't know how much strength I will have maintained or regained in the surplus again. We'll see. But the idea of competing in 93, because of the competitive side of things, that I would be way taller and likely have less muscle mass than the people I'm competing against, that doesn't really appealed to me. We'll see.
Yeah, I can see how that goes. Because I think when you get super lean, your framing of like how much fat you'll be happy to gain might be different. But then also you did bring up the topic we discussed of that kind of range of body fat percentages, where once you kind of enter it, it's like you can gain so many kilos until you're out of it again.
Yeah.
Like you might say cut down to super shredded, and then you lose your super shreds at like what percentage did we say? 50.
Yeah, like 12 to 15.
So let's say you hit 15, then all the way up to like 22.
Yeah. You kind of look the same. You just look like a little bit like,
Chubbier.
just a little softer and bigger.
Yeah.
And so
maybe you'd be that could be
Yeah.
the 105 range for you. That
Yeah.
could be 93 through 105.
there's very much the possibility that I get to that like lean body comp as well. Say I get to 12% body fat, something like that.
On the dot.
say I get there. Maybe I'll be satisfied to have like ticked that off. And then I don't need to do that again. I think there's an element of just having to prove it to myself, because I got so big and I put on a considerable amount of body fat. When I was heavier, I was like, oh, this is only going to be temporary. I'm going to lose it. And then I'm like, okay, my mouth cashed the check that now I have to like.
Yeah, dude.
It wrote a check that now I have to cash. Like
cashed it, wrote it, man.
Wrote the check that now I have to cash
its own
it in.
personality, man. A mind of its own.
So now I have to actually do that. I was saying it's temporary. Now I got to actually prove to myself that it was only temporary, because I could say it's temporary and then before you know it, I'm just that heavy for the rest of my life. Like
Big Wayne over here. Gotta get back
Uncle
to Lil
Bob,
Wayne.
Uncle Bob, brother. I'll be Uncle Bob. So yeah, I was saying it was only going to be temporary. So now I've got to like prove it, and I got to prove it to myself. I want to prove it to myself, because I started off. I was 70 kilos. I was 70 kilos when I started, and say getting lean. That's something that hasn't been a priority in my training career, my health and fitness journey over the past however many years. So that's something that I want to take off and kind of do that for myself. I've experience in doing that. And then maybe when I do that, I've scratched that itch. I've kind of satisfied that desire, and then I can go back to being fucking 15, 18% body fat, being that little bit heavier, being 105. We'll see.
Cool.
We'll see. It's many steps down the line, I think.
Yeah. Savage. I popped the question to Adam the other day, or popped the idea. What's the word?
Pop the cherry?
No, done that. No, like just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
Threw an idea out there that, like, if at some point in the future, I could endeavor down to 93.
Yeah.
Because I'm not that far away. Like, I'm not 107 cutting into 105. That's far. That would be like just a complete recon.
Yeah.
But like 98, 99 down to 93. I'd say some people cut from 98. But I'm not doing it.
What did Ewan used to cut? He probably cut from 98, right? He cut from 105.
He was like,
he'd be cutting from 105.
100 the day before. But like, I am obviously not Ewan. So that cut, I wouldn't look forward to. But like, if in the future, either I wanted to lean out a little bit. I think if I leaned out even a little bit from here, it is down to about 92. And then at which case, you would just compete there.
I was trying to convince you to go 93.
It's not that far away, so it's open. I think I had a bit of a slump with training, so I would like to just see out this like even year, maybe 105. I think I can commit to that.
Yeah.
And then what we said was if I'm approaching big numbers at like 98, then maybe we could just see how replicable they are, 7 kilos less.
Yeah.
For context, for anyone, our 93s, the battle is all around 800.
Yeah.
With like Keane, Matt, and Aaron as of right now, and then others to come. So I'd probably have to be high 7s at like 98 for it to sound feasible.
Yeah.
So we'll that door's open. Whereas when I was younger, it was like no. It's like 110 lean.
Yeah, that comes back to our whole understanding of what is, having trained for more years, like what is realistic.
So I'm tempted to dabble in that. I'm tempted to. It's like, again, you don't want to. I think it's enough of a buffer for me to cut down all the way through like 90. I think that's a big cut, and that would be a few training blocks where they feel not that great.
See, you say that though, like you are 98 at the moment. Like you're where I am now. I'm about to go do that, and I was 117.
So how long are you thinking that takes?
For me, okay, so this is the thing. This kind of comes back to that whole idea of trying to give a better understanding of like realistic rates of expectation for gaining or losing. For me, I have been losing at a rate of around like 1% average body weight a week. So that's around a kilo a week. So I would say I'm going to stay in a deficit for the next 6 to 8 weeks, and I should be in and around 90 to 93, I would say, in that range. Yeah. So I would say it's probably not going to take that long, to be honest. But there's some caveats to that in terms of my nutrition has been so like routine for the past 5-6 years. So when I'm saying like losing 1% average body weight a week, or if you're in a surplus, gaining 1% average body weight a month, to do that, like you need quite a bit of control and tracking of what you're eating, what your energy expenditure is like, what your body weight kind of fluctuations are doing. You need to be tracking all of that sort of stuff, because if you're not, you're just guessing. Like it's going to be totally random. And this is what I think happens for, say, a lot of people is, okay, I'm in a surplus. I'm just eating a lot of food. I don't know how much I'm meant to be gaining. I'm not tracking my intake. I'm not tracking my body weight. I don't have a rate of progression that I'm looking to stick to or looking to maintain as I'm on the way up. I'm just eating a lot of food and I will get stronger. And then you do get stronger and you're like, okay, fucking this works. And then 2 months down the line, you're like, oh, I'm kind of fat. This sucks. So it is probably going to be quite important that you are tracking your food. You're being consistent with that. You're tracking your body weight consistently. You know the rate of progression or how much body weight that you want to be gaining per week or per month. You're monitoring what the averages of those are trending like. So yeah, you're probably going to have to weigh yourself at least like 3-4 times in a week. Do that consistently. Make a routine with that. Have those body weights logged somewhere. You would be tracking your calories. You can see where the average of your weekly calories are coming out, so that you know you're hitting the required amount of food and how that correlates to what your body weight is doing. And then from there, you can adjust it to stay on that percentage rate of progression that you want. If you're not doing any of that, you're kind of just guessing. And I think that happens a lot with people. You're kind of just like fumbling in the dark, and there may be periods if you're in a surplus where you're just like randomly eating more food. You're not really tracking it. You don't really know what it is. You get, just by like happenstance, you get stronger. And then again, since you're not tracking, it kind of falls by the wayside, and before you know it, you're actually not even in surplus anymore. You're just maintaining, and then you kind of spin your wheels for a couple of blocks, and you're like, "This sucks. This is shit. Why is my training like this?" Or vice versa, you're in a deficit. You don't have like a planned rate of loss that you are trying to come down at. You don't know how to control these things. I think it's probably more common that people would be on top of it in a deficit, and less common that they're on it in a surplus, because there's like less implications of it going bad, or like there's less bad stuff that can happen in surplus. It's just body fat gain, and you put that on the long finger because it seems like it's far down the line that you would have to deal with it.
But cutting, you either cut too fast, you don't cut at all.
Yeah. So people are probably a little bit more on top of it. But from my experience, the people who get the best results and consistent results are the people who are tracking those variables. So they are tracking their body weight consistently. They are tracking their food consistently. They are able to adhere to those like planned out rates of progression. They're the ones who are there's like no more mystery involved in their training. They just know, I do X, Y, Z different thing, and I'm gonna make progress. And each time I come in, each block that I do, I'm lifting heavy weights, everything is going better. Or vice versa, if they're cutting, I know I do X, Y, Z thing, and I'm gonna be moving down at the optimal rate that I can. And the people who don't see that, the people who have like inconsistent results, or their training plateaus often, or they are like they're not seeing the results that they want to see. They're the people who are not on top of tracking these variables consistently. Everything seems more confusing. Everything seems more wishy-washy. Everything seems like there's some magic voodoo that's going on. There's something out there that is out of their control that's influencing the rate of progress. It's just the lack of consistency with tracking those things. Yeah, that's what I would say.
So wrapping in the rates of loss and gain to the hypothetical proposal of me lifting under 93. Let's say I was to cut down to like 90 in 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Where if you, or say you were in that, because I asked you the question of 93, and obviously it's possible, but let's say you're a 105. Let's say if you were in my body and you cut to 91, 92, you're not shredded. No. You're a little bit leaner, tighter than you are now. Tighter's crazy. Tighter than you are now. But where do you gain from there? Do you go into that 1% per month?
So what I would, if I was just looking at you, okay, so do you. Also, that 1% loss per week, that's probably less on like the aggressive end. That's the high end of what you would do.
Yeah.
If your sole goal was like maintaining performance, you would probably err on the side of maybe like 0.5% a week. That would be like a more moderate or controlled, and you'll probably maintain more performance on the way down. If you were cutting down to 93, I would try to give yourself as much time as possible to do it. So I think one of the problems is kind of when you're in that rat race of competitions again, where you're like, okay, I have a competition in 6 months, so I kind of need to like rush. I have to go on the aggressive end of this deficit, and then I get down to here, and then I've kind of maybe lost a little bit more strength or muscle mass than I wanted, and then I maybe can't like see through the deficit as far as I would want to see. Because maybe to give you like the best chance of being really competitive as a 93, maybe you come down even lower. Maybe you come down to like high 80s, so that you have a longer runway of being in a surplus again, eating into the 93s per se, rather than just cutting down to the limit of 93s and then trying to like maintain there. Maybe you come down a little bit further. So maybe you give yourself a longer runway. And another thing is I would probably try to avoid being in a deficit for most like powerlifters for more than like 8 to 12 weeks at a time. For that same thing of when you have multiple blocks after another that are not feeling great. It's just like, it's damaging for the psyche. Like it's damaging for your confidence. So I would probably try, in your case, depending on how aggressive that you wanted to do it, you're looking at the timescales of how long it would take to come down like at 0.5%. How far we could reasonably get down in a couple of blocks. You then maybe spend the equivalent amount of time or like 2/3 of the amount of time sitting at maintenance. So performance can come back up a little bit. You kind of reset at a baseline, kind of similar to how I did with Open Euros. And then you would embark on another deficit again. Maybe you come down a little bit below that 93 mark, you come into the 80s, and then you have a little period of maintenance again where you level out, and then you embark into your surplus training again. So that would be how I'd look at it. But I would also say it's probably going to take more time than you think. Like, to do it right, to be in a deficit for that long and to get kind of the results that you're looking for, if you want to do it on like the more moderate time scale or the kind of rate that you're going to preserve as much muscle and strength and performance as possible, it's probably going to take longer than you think. Like, it's one of those things that you can't really shortcut. Like, it takes a lot of time to do stuff with weight training. Like, you don't see a result after a week of doing something. You don't see the result even after like a month necessarily. It's something that often takes like multiple months of putting in the work to set yourself up in a position that maybe a year down the line you can cash in on all of that work, which is tough. Like, it's a tough pill to swallow, and that's kind of the position that I'm in now, where I'm like, okay, I have to take a little bit of short-term shit for some hopeful long-term payoff and benefit. This stuff just takes a lot of time. I was talking to someone as well who was looking at, say, like nationals. There's a spreadsheet that has all the top totals of all the lifters in each weight class, like anyone who's hit the QT to qualify for nationals, and they were looking at kind of what the gap was to the people at the very top, and they were like, oh, it's just like, it's so far away. It almost feels like kind of quit while you're ahead, so to speak. Because they were looking at this person, like I just can't even catch their total. And I was like, yeah, like if you wanted to be the number one lifter, it's probably going to take 5 years of training really consistently. Like, it's just not something that we can shortcut. Say this person had only been training a year, 2 years, and they're looking at the person who's at the top of the weight class who's been training a decade. You're not going to catch them in the next 12 months or the next 2 years. Like, if you really wanted to be the best, you would kind of need to just love powerlifting for powerlifting's sake, so that you keep doing it for the next near to a decade, and then you will by happenstance be the person who's at the top. because you've been around training super hard for that long. But you're not gonna will yourself there. You're not gonna be able to shortcut it in a year. Now, I'm sure you could if you were taking some special sports supplements, but for like natural lifters, you can't shortcut that time. If someone's been training twice, 3 times as long as you, you're not going to be able to just like fast track. And obviously, there's some outliers. There's some fucking nonsos that roll out of bed and pull 400. But for the most part, you're not going to shortcut that time. It just doesn't work like that. If you look at the people who are at the top of the weight classes, for the most part, they're the people who have been doing this for years on years on years. So yeah, that was another idea. This stuff just takes time. It just takes a lot of time, and it's not the sexy answer. It's not the answer that like sells real well or like is real captivating. Everyone wants, obviously, to find a way where you can shortcut it and make it as fast and efficient as possible, but it kind of just takes a lot of time. And I remember hearing that when I was younger, like people talking about a physique, like it just takes 10 years to build a great physique, or someone's asking like, how can I get my shoulders to look like this? And the person is like, come back to me in 10 years. I'm now coming up on 10 years training, and I'm only now starting to feel like, okay, I can see the frame that I wanted when I was like 14 years old. I can see that taking shape now. It just took fucking 10 years of work to get there. And if you're so focused on the outcome, that's not going to be enough to get you through 10 years. It's like watching paint dry or grass grow. If you're like checking on it every minute, you're going, this is miserable. This is miserable. I'm not there yet. You're like checking your abs in the mirror like every day for 10 years. You're going to be miserable. You have to find ways to like enjoy the process and almost trick yourself to forget about the outcome. You know you want to reach the outcome, but you have to find ways to trick yourself, to make yourself forget that you want that outcome, to find ways to enjoy the process. And then you do it long enough that the outcome eventually gets there. Or like say you're on a long car journey, like you have to drive to the other end of the country. You know it's going to take 5 hours. If you're checking Google Maps every kilometer to see how much further you are, it's going to be shit. You put some music on, you just enjoy the scenery as you're driving, you take it in. Before you know it, you're 2 hours into the drive and you're that much closer to the destination. You stop, you look around a little bit, you go, oh fuck, we're kind of getting there. You put the music back on, you turn it up, and you keep driving. If you are like checking the whole time and you're just focused about that endpoint, you're going to miss all the good stuff and it's going to be miserable the whole time. Yeah. Fuck, that was a banger. That was good, man. That was good.
You could clip that and post it.
Fuck yeah, I might have to come back to Instagram just for that one, baby.
Yeah, man.
Man, I've been missing this. Okay, I've been missing doing this because I had these. Okay, there was a month went by we didn't even record. Okay, I was like, I'm losing it. I don't even have ideas anymore. I don't even got nothing in my brain no more. But I need to be in the environment. We need to be in the flow. We need to be fucking throwing it back and forth, and then eventually it just something comes out. It's fucking someone speaking through me. It's not even me, brother. Someone's speaking through me, man. It's not even me. I didn't even come up with that shit. Someone spoke through me, bro.
It is you. You just got to talk. You got to talk and build up some momentum,
and then something good comes out. So every so often something good comes out.
Yeah, you just got to do it. You just got to throw it back and forth.
Yeah, man, just up and down, back and forth, gyrate on it, brother. Crazy. Come on now.
So 2 things. One is there's a glass of water in front of Andrew. It's purely for show. He had his water at the start of the week. Secondly,
it's such a bad joke.
Speaking of you climbing, a lot of people on my question box asked about 1 gorilla versus 100 dudes.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
I think the answer is obvious, no?
Go on.
What do you think? I'm doing the same thing that I did to open the last podcast. Great question. What's your answer?
It's realistically going to be the 100 dudes.
Yeah, obviously, I think. Yeah. Like, surely, like, that's a no-brainer, no?
Here's the issue. Here's how it goes, though. Yeah. Here's how it goes, and this is why it's actually a spanner of a question a little bit. Yeah. Is you get 100 of us, I'm not being in the front.
Yeah, no, that was my answer as well. You're going to have to sacrifice a few. Like,
so I think, okay, the biggest issue is 2 things. One, it's going to overheat because it can't sustain that amount of energy.
Yeah.
Right. And secondly, it's not a superhero. Like you're thinking of like what would a superhero do?
Watch your mic. Yeah.
Oh shit.
Okay, so the last episode, okay, Andrew had his mic here. He would tilt it the other way and start talking like this. Okay, so I'm just
once I get talking. Okay, so the biggest issue is it's going to overheat. It can't sweat like us, whatever. It's going to like exert so much energy.
I would have never even thought that.
Yeah. And secondly, it's not a superhero. So you're thinking of like, what would
Yeah.
Thor do versus 100 dudes? It's like, no, he's going to probably choose one person and just kill him. He's not going to think like, what's the best strategy to take out 100 guys? It's just going to be, I'm going to kill that person.
Donkey Kong spin.
Like a helicopter. He's not going to do that. He's just going to choose like 2 people.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest issue. But the
How
biggest
do you
issue,
get him?
that's my issue.
I'm not sure how you get
Who's
him.
stepping up to get him and who's sacrificing themselves? Because I think there's about 20 people who are going to die.
Yeah, probably, maybe even more.
Maybe more.
But how do you get him? What do? You don't punch him like he's not feeling a punch.
I
Like.
hate saying this because it's nasty, but you gotta step at an angle
Eyeballs.
on the joints.
Eyeballs.
Oh, the eyeballs?
Eyeballs.
But then it's teeth, bro.
Yeah, no.
Just goes.
Yeah, no, someone's losing an arm. But man, if 100 people are going for his eyeballs, and when he has no eyeballs, he's done. Eyeballs and the nuts. He's cooked.
I think his knees and elbows. I think you stomp down there. That's it.
Yeah.
Debilitate him.
Probably couldn't strangle him.
No. That's who one person gets back. He's like trying to reach around. He's just like.
Yeah, no. Eyeballs, nuts, and then take his joints
So
out.
what? It's basically that the first 20 people are dying.
Yeah, someone's getting his
then
eyeballs. If
then
we have
he's falling
100, if we
asleep.
have 100 fellas going for his eyes, someone's getting his eyeballs, and then you go for his nuts, man. Man, you're like a homing miss.
Man, I remember talking to Andrew about when 2 dogs get in a fight, how do you break it up? And I was like, you strangle them or whatever. Andrew was like, you put a finger straight in their ass. So I think this gorilla. Andrew's like, get out of my way, get out of my way.
How
And
do
he
you
just
come
goes-
up with a lie like that? How do you actually come up with a lie
he just
like
goes
that?
straight for the gorilla's cheeks.
Like Ant-Man and Thanos and go into an anti-go his ass.
That's why Andrew's cutting down so he can sneak up there. Yeah.
How do you come up with a lie like that on the spot? That is incredible.
So we're saying 100 dudes.
Yeah.
And is the strategy that the gorilla's eventually just going to fall asleep, killing like 20?
Yeah, fall asleep and someone's getting his eyes. That's what I think. If he has no eyes, he's fucked.
True.
You can do whatever after he has no eyes.
Shit.
Oh, crying after that one. That was. How do you come up with stuff like that on the fucking spot, man? Okay.
Into it.
Was there any other fucking particularly good ones? We have a list of questions here. Anything that jumps out to you?
You know what we probably need to do is answer
What?
so many questions that we've already answered before.
Yeah.
Back in like episode 1 or 2.
New perspectives and
One of them was your social life during powerlifting.
yeah.
People are wondering about that.
Yeah.
You know?
Don't have one.
Yeah, don't have one. What are you doing?
What do you mean social life?
You like drinking? Stop drinking. What are you, an alcoholic? AA number, look it up on Google, okay? You just get training. You start training, you stop going out. You stop going out drinking. You don't need any friends outside of the gym.
Sunlight,
okay?
losers.
Sunlight grass?
Yeah.
No.
It's for losers, brother.
Metal, iron,
Chalk.
chalk, baby powder.
Knee sleeve smell.
Oh my god, when you're like sapside the baby powder area and people are deadlifting.
Oh.
my god.
Yeah. Oh man, after leaving a competition weekend, fucking the amount of like my nose is all clogged up with fucking powder.
amount of what?
Fucking
The amount of
chalk and-
snots you're about to say.
Yeah, man, I'll be having white snots. Like I'll be having chalky baby powder snots like after a comp weekend.
Yeah, so social life through powerlifting. Off the dome.
Okay, off the dome. How important is powerlifting to you? Do you want to sacrifice everything for it? If you do, sweet, do it. Because that's what I did. It was really important to me. So I didn't socialize a lot. I'd maybe go out to like a handful, maybe less, of social events a year. And I just really prioritized lifting. If you really, really want to do that, do that. If powerlifting is not the be all and end all to you, socialize and just don't overthink it. Just enjoy yourself.
Yep.
Like, if you wanted to maximize your rate of progress in the gym, there's probably a certain set of activities that you would do. If you are not, like, if you're willing to not maximize like your rate of progress, to go enjoy other aspects of your life, do it. Just like know that's the kind of decision that you have made, and enjoy it. Like, don't have any stress associated with it. Don't be judging yourself. Don't get caught in the middle of two worlds. Like telling yourself that you want to be the absolute very best in the world, and then go to a social event, but be miserable at the social event and not enjoy the social event, and then also not see the benefits of like trying real hard and training.
Then you're hating everything.
Yeah, everything's miserable then. So it just depends how important training is in your life. I would say for most people, don't sacrifice these things. Go to the party or whatever it is. Go to the birthday, the fucking whatever. Go enjoy yourself. Don't sacrifice everything for the sake of powerlifting. You will be able to go enjoy yourself. You'll be able to go have a few drinks and get back to training, and you will see 98% of the amount of progress that you will likely make, and you'll get to enjoy your life while doing it. Powerlifting is something that's meant to add to your life, not take from it. It shouldn't be something that is like making you feel miserable and kind of making you lose out on all these other opportunities that you want to do. If you do want to go do those other things, do them. Like maybe it is the case that like you don't need to devote everything to powerlifting. Maybe that is the sign to you to go pursue those other areas. That would be what kind of comes to mind for me at the moment.
There is a bunch of people that do go out and they're super strong. They go out more often than we do. Yeah. You go out the least. I go out more than you. Yeah. But then less than other people, and so on and so forth. But there are people who go out much more than both of us and are probably stronger than both of us as well. That just happens as well. What I will say is the kind of like benefits, if you were to graph the benefits of a night out, it would be like a negative X squared curve. Okay.
Oh, this fucking Masters guy, man. What? Speaking dropout terms, right? Speaking dropout terms.
It would basically go up and then comes back down. Okay. The graph. So and with time and with drink, right? So drink and time on the x-axis and benefit on the y. So it's going up the more you drink and the later you stay out, but then it pretty swiftly comes back down. The more you drink and the later you stay,
11
the
o'clock,
worse
that's
it
the
gets.
peak of that curve for me, man. If I'm out past 11, I'm feeling tired, I'm feeling groggy, I'm feeling shit.
That's different for everyone, but I do know, and everybody knows this listening, right? Some select few people will, encourage the later endeavors and the more substance-based endeavors. But I'm saying that at a certain time and a certain amount of alcohol, the benefits start to dwindle off. It's like you have another drink, you're not having all that much fun, but you're going to be X amount more hungover. You stay out another hour, nothing happens. Now you're losing an hour of sleep. So be okay with, this seems like magic to some people, be okay with going home. As in, I think, leave, like the way they say retire like at a peak instead of like waiting until you're not scoring anymore. Yeah. It's like retire when the night's good.
Yeah.
Because in the next 20 minutes, everybody's splitting up.
Yeah.
You're going to have like 2 more drinks. So you're going to be more hungover, more drunk. And then you have to try get home. It's going to be colder going home. It's going to be later. You're going to sleep less. You're going to be more drunk, more hungover. Spend more money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man. So if you usually go home at like, 2:30, 3 o'clock, go home at 1. And then that saves you so much money.
Yeah.
It saves you so much. It gets you more sleep and it stops you drinking even more than you don't need to. So be okay with also drinking less. I noticed that as well. You can either not drink. That feels a little bit strange sometimes being in like a really drunk environment, not like fully sober. I get it.
Yeah.
So if you do want to drink, it's very possible, man. I've mastered 3 drinks, sweet spot.
Yeah.
I'm not hungover after 3 drinks, but after 3 drinks, I'm
You're a little
on the loose with it.
He's a little fruity
That's
with
what I'm
it. He's a little fruity with it.
Yeah. No, fruity with it is one sip.
Before you start, as soon as those eyes open up in the morning. Fruity Drew is on the scene.
You should see my dream, bro.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely fucking CEO of the Irish Goodbye. Like when it hits 11, see it. I'm out. I'm out.
I just about let known that he's leaving. He's like on the way out. He's like,
I did that to Andrew. I was like, I just need to go drop something back at the Airbnb. Just gone. Yeah. I'll pull up some questions here as well. Okay, we only got let's say 10 more minutes.
Yeah.
And then you gotta fucking wriggle out of here.
When you compete again, I'm doing August to qualify for nationals.
I'm not doing worlds, so we'll see. Probably maybe something end of the year, maybe nationals, maybe something. We'll find out. We'll find out with a little bit of time.
Why don't girls care about how much I bench?
Good question. I don't care about how much you bench.
Yeah, that's the real thing. It's not
no
girls.
one cares about how much
you just have to care. You just have to care. Your friends and loved ones will care. Anyone who cares enough about you to witness your life will care about those minor details. Yeah. No random girl is going to care about how much you bench because it's not you. Yeah. You are you.
Also, even if you're like a close friend of mine, I don't care how much you bench. If you have done something that is like you're happy and proud of, That's what I care about. Like if you hit a PB and you feel like good and happy and oh my god, that was amazing. That's what I care about. That's what I care. I don't care how much you bench.
Yeah.
Like if there's friends that I have in the gym bench 100 kilos. They hit a PB. There's a guy's younger brother who's in the gym. I don't even know how much he bench. He might bench like 60. Man, when he hits a PB, fuck yeah. Man, he pulled 120.
Oh, I remember.
And it was the most hype shit I've ever seen in my life. I've probably got more hype for that lift than I've got for any lift in the past like 5 years. It doesn't matter how much you lift. No one gives a shit. Or like you tell your parents, you like go home and like, I hit this number today. And they're like, nice. I don't know what that means.
Are you happy?
Yeah.
Is that good?
Yeah. And then you say, yeah. And they're like, oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Man, no one cares what you bet.
Yeah.
And I know the question was like a jokey kind of question, but like literally no one cares. It just like, do you care? And people will care if you're like happy. People care if you are enjoying yourself or you're like proud of an achievement that you had, not the actual objective achievement itself.
Yeah.
That was another thing that kind of experienced at a competition recently where one of my lifters, super incredibly dedicated, so hardworking, didn't have the kind of performance that he wanted. And he was saying how kind of it almost felt like embarrassing. It felt embarrassing that he didn't live up to the expectations that he had. And I was like, man, honestly, like no one is looking at you like that's embarrassing. All of your friends are just happy for you. Like they just want to see you do well. Like the objective number, whether it was 10 kilos more or less, no one cares about that. No one will remember that at all. People just want to see you do well. People care about you as a person. They want to see you like happy and proud. No one's looking at you like it's embarrassing. That's not a factor or consideration at all. I understand that it can feel that way, but yeah, that's not a thing. People just want to see you do well and feel good and be happy, not whatever objective number that you're lifting. That doesn't fucking matter at all.
I like that.
Yeah.
I really like that, yeah.
Let me pull up
a question now.
Pull up these fucking. How do you know when to how do you know when to push through versus pull back? That's okay. No.
Brother, you're asking the wrong dudes, bro. How do you know when to push further and to pull out, bro?
Pull back, you motherfucker. No, do you know that question that you're 1 inch in thing and the thing is 1 inch in you? Do you move forward or back? I'm not giving the full explanation.
That's crazy. Just if you feel like if you're questioning whether or not to push further or pull back, you probably time to pull back, bro. You're probably not worth the risk of pushing further, and that probably applies. For life.
A few things. But this was I thought this one was interesting because this is something I've noticed myself in my own training. No, what the fuck? Shut up, man. This is something I've noticed myself is, man, I be avoiding discomfort like a motherfucker. Yeah. Like in training, I just want and expect
training to success.
I just be like expecting everything to feel easy, man. Yeah. And I think when I'm in a groove with a comp lift, let's just say, when I'm in the groove with a comp lift, it can feel like effortless. Like I've squatted multiple like times over 300 where it felt like nothing on my back. Like when you're in that groove and you're in that zone and your technique is dialed in and you're like physically performing well, it can feel like nothing. Yeah. Like obviously it moves slow and you know there's like a lot of resistance there, but like internally the perception of the difficulty and the stress is like really not that much. Yeah. And it's like a weird time. It's a weird experience. But I kind of just expect it to be like that all the time. All the time. So as soon as I come in and like 220 feels like heavy, like you know the feeling of when something's heavy and when it feels uncomfortable and it feels like you have to work. It feels like you have to hit a bit of a to get it up. When you make one of those noises, okay? I hate that, and I'd be trying to avoid that as much as possible. Yeah. Like I'd just be trying to make my training feel comfy all the time.
For context, I came in one day with Andrew. He squatted 70.
Yeah, and I left. No, that being said, I was ill. I was under the weather.
Yeah. So the discomfort hit him early.
Yeah, but that is like I very rarely like push through discomfort and stuff, and like. We talked about this before, maybe even a couple times in the podcast, where people talk about like you should feel like beat up and sore and powerlifting, like that's just part of the process. Man, I always feel good. I always just feel good, and if I start to feel like nasty, I'm pulling that back. I don't give a shit. I remember seeing Jesus. I think that's what it was. I remember seeing Jesus being like, "Oh, I'm beat up," so he's squatting 170 for his back offs. He was like, "Oh, I'm like fatigued today," and he's squatting 170. And I was like, "This is fucking Jesus. This guy squats 400 and whatever." And if he's taking 170 on his back off, it's like, what am I? Like, what am I trying to do here? just like acknowledge that kind of balance of fatigue and let me pull back. So I very rarely, like if I'm feeling something is off, I kind of just, I do just pull back. Very rare that I would like push through any major discomfort. Now, that being said, obviously there's time, like I train to failure. All my accessories, I essentially train to failure, maybe depending on the point of the block, like a couple reps in reserve. So I don't mean avoiding working hard at all, but you know that feeling of when everything just feels heavy and you in your brain feel heavy. Everything is just like sluggish. You're carrying that fatigue. I try to avoid that for the most part.
Yeah.
I just like feeling fresh all the time and feeling good. So generally I work within a very comfortable like sub-max range on my comp lifts and then push accessories quite hard because it's easier to manage fatigue and whatnot. But I'd be avoiding discomfort, brother.
Yeah. It's tough to calibrate that for a lifter, however. And you have to expect a certain level of autonomy of the lifter as well. That you can only teach them. You can teach them everything you can, but you can't feel for them. So they have to know when they are at that point when they need to drop back, when they need to pull back, as opposed to stuff just being a little bit difficult. Yeah. So you said you get up to like 300 plus and it's just like effortless or whatever. It's like you get into this flow and everything's just been like, you've been training toward this, that like everything's more subconscious. You're not appraising how heavy something is. You're just like getting into the flow with the music and the setup and everything like this. It's like it was in fact very heavy, and so you have to get a good calibration of how things actually feel versus like feeling beat up.
Yeah, there two thoughts came to mind. I forgot the first one, so I'll run with the second. Was there's definitely also, when considering that, me being like, say, these fucking squats that I hit that felt effortless, there's definitely, when looking back in hindsight, you look back with like rose-tinted glasses where you're like, yeah, that felt like nothing. Yeah, that's because you're removed from the time. But like in the moment, it definitely felt a little bit like something.
But you felt strong.
Yeah.
You felt strong enough.
You felt capable. Yeah. You felt confident. You know when you unrack a bar and you're like, oh, I know
I have
got
this,
it. Yeah.
no matter what it feels like.
But yeah, there's definitely a point where you look back and you've got those rose tinted glasses of sorts, and you convince yourself that it was easier than maybe it was. And you also there was another point that I had and I totally forgot it. It was like about kind of you can't feel something for the lifter. Me saying that I avoid discomfort is kind of like, it's so contextual and no one can feel what I mean either. Yeah. And I think it is just a byproduct of experience. And if you're in your first year of training, it makes sense that you don't understand maybe the full context of what I mean by that, because it's a very nuanced thing. And you kind of just have to experience enough times where you've pushed really hard and you felt really beat up and you kind of swung the pendulum too far that you can then realize, okay, in another situation where I experience that again, I know that's what it feels like when you push too hard. And then there's maybe other times where you have a block and you like are just sandbagging it too much and you don't make any progress. And you're like, okay, I know what it feels like now when I train at too low a level of difficulty or not enough intensity. And then when you've done it for 10 years, you've had so many experiences that you know what it feels like when you push too hard. Yeah. You know what it feels like if you're like not training hard enough. Yeah. And then you have more context to it. Kind of similar to the bouldering. One of the issues I'm having is when you are like looking at the wall, they talk about like the importance of like reading the route and knowing where you're gonna like put each hand and each foot. I've no idea. I've literally have no idea what I'm looking at. Yeah. I've no idea what's a foothold and what's a handhold.
You're both stood back looking at it. And it's like, are you ready? And you're like, wait.
Yeah. It was like when I was
completely random.
It was like when I was doing your exam. I was doing your little test for your masters, and I'm looking at it and it's not making any sense, and I'm like, nah, fuck it. I'm just going to have to go with it. I have no idea what that means, but I'm just going to go with it. Like I can't read the route at all. But then there's other people who've been doing it for a number of years. They've seen all the combinations of different positions. They know when your leg is in here like that and your foot is outstretched like that, you can drop your knee down and that means you can reach higher. Like you've got more context, you've got more experiences. You know what it feels like when you've done this, you know what it feels like when you've done that. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. When do you push and when do you pull back? Just fucking do it enough times and then you'll realize, brother.
It's a great analogy, man. It's a great analogy for life.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to experience things to calibrate your scale.
It's like a chess master. This was in a book that I was listening to. Apparently, they did like a test. This is probably, we fucking got to wrap this
Probably
up.
the last thing.
They did a test with like grandmasters where they like showed them like a flash of like a mid game sequence.
Yep.
So like just a little position like in the board in the middle of a game, and they asked them to recreate it, and they were able to like remember where all of the pieces were.
That's crazy.
Because they were able to have this mental map of like, I've been in this situation of a game before, or I can recognize it from watching a game of another person. I know the combination of things. So then what they did was jumbled it, and they put because they were like, these people have like a photographic memory. They have an insane photographic memory. They put the pieces in jumbled places where they would never actually end up in a game, like where they actually couldn't end up in a game. They were just random. And the grandmasters couldn't recall where any of the pieces were. They scored the equivalent of people who had like no chess experience. Yeah. So it turned out they didn't have a photographic memory at all. Yeah. They were just able to pattern, like recognize the plays that they had experienced because they'd experienced the same thing so many times. Yeah. Like if you take the same turn to work so many times, you know what it's like, you know the sequence of the lights, you know everything. You're able to recognize and recall it. Yeah, you just, the more times you do something, obviously the more exposure you get. It sounds so simple and stupid when you kind of frame it like that. Yeah. But yeah, you just got to do it for long enough that you get to recognize the nuance.
That's crazy. That's cool. That was like a little psychology example, man.
Yeah, thanks.
That's really cool.
Man, and I didn't have to pay 50, 100 grand to do my master's.
Yeah.
I just listened to a book on Audible at $12.49 or something a month.
Yeah, wow. I'll like go on the surface of this thing called like semantic priming. Yeah. And do you ever hear of just priming, full stop?
Yeah. Yeah, it's Logan Paul's energy drink, isn't it?
Basically, if you show people two words and the first word is related to the second word, you process it way faster. Okay. Because it probably kind of has this like association in your long-term memory where the first one opens up the links to the second one. So when you see the second one, it's already activated that link, that chain, where when they're unrelated. So let's say you see dog, but then you see like, I don't know, glass.
Detergent.
Yeah, it's like the things it opened weren't to do with detergent. So then you have to reopen detergent, and so it takes a little bit longer. And this is seen in your like parietal cortex. There's like a dip in like it's like a negative charge in like 400 milliseconds. Right, that's the complicated bit. But I'm wondering, it's probably the exact same thing in your long-term memory when a chess player sees, say, like 3 pieces in a certain alignment, it opens up all the options that could possibly be there, and so they recognize it, and then they can remember.
That's what they said. They said they grouped it in clusters of pieces rather than remembering where the individual pieces are. Rather than seeing, I don't know, fucking what, there's probably like 40 pieces. Yeah. Rather than seeing 30 individual pieces, they saw 4 clusters of different pieces. Yeah. That's the Goldilocks upside down unicorn. They have names for all the...
Yeah? Man, you could be my Goldilocks
they have names for the finishing moves and the openers.
Really?
Yeah.
Give me a name for finishing move.
Don't know. I'm not the chess master.
Yeah, I just thought you'd remember.
Oh, just like a regular finishing move.
Yeah.
Choke slam.
On that, guys, thanks so much for listening to today's episode.
See you next time.
Hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you before long.